How you
That's
been?
okay. Well, what can I say? Retired.
Okay. Well, I wanted to introduce my audience to you. We have a special guest on the line. You could go ahead and
Mhm.
introduce a long-time dog man. You could go ahead and introduce yourself.
Well, I'm David, better known as Big D from Limey Kennels in Europe. I've been more or less involved in this breed since 1984, and I've always been, how do I say this, involved with the alligator bully Eli family from the start, and with a couple of exceptions of some outcrosses that we did, I never changed.
Okay.
So
So you from Europe.
yes, we are from Europe.
So what was it like back? What was it like back then? Like far as like having people to mentor you in that area, your Pacific region where you grew up in. Did you have any like mentors or anybody that assist you with the dogs?
Well, what can I say? The first bulldogs or pit bulls that were introduced into Europe were in England and in the Netherlands, where I'm from. And the first introduction was in 1980 in my town, my hometown, with a dog called Champion Spike.
Hold on 1 second. Hey, cut it out. Cut it out. I got my little alarm. Shut up. Cut it out. Somebody at the door. Yeah, that's how
The first bulldog the first introduction was in 1980,
right.
and the dog that was first introduced was a dog called Hammond's Iron Joe, also known as Spike, and he was out of Hammond's Rufus times Roy's Black Sister.
Okay, I was on. So that was one of the first ones imported in your in the Netherlands.
Yes, well, he was born in 1978,
right.
but the first introduction was in 1980.
So he was already an adult dog when he entered over in your side of the part of the land.
Well, he was sent over as a puppy.
Oh, okay.
But the first introduction was in 1980, and it was back then organized by the Staffordshire Bull Terrier Club in the Netherlands. And there were some other dogs around the same area, same time that were imported. Some sons and bitches from Patrick of the Bolio strain. In fact, one son of Bolio made its mark over here as well, and some other stuff. Some real good blood was sent over here.
Was that the Bros Handsome dog that came over there?
Sorry?
The Bolio dog?
Handsome, yes. Although Handsome had a fake pedigree. He was not. He was known as a son of Bolio, but actually he was out of Patrick Cheng Lang and Boney Moroni.
Oh, okay.
It was in the time that Bolio was stolen in America, and the dogs were sent over, and he came over with a bitch from the Goose Brothers, the Bros Brothers from Amsterdam. But Patrick, as the liar he used to be, he used the Hansen dog to make Bolio a register of merit dog. And the championship of Hansen was actually against an English Bull Terrier, which he won in 16 minutes. And back then they had the audacity or the guts to register this match, so he became champion.
So
many years later, Pat Patrick, because he forgot his lies, said actually on image and on tape, which is on YouTube, that he sent a dog out of Bono Moroni and Chang Lang to Europe. You know, but he was not from Bolio. So officially, when you go back through the history books, Bolio is not even a register of merit dog. But that's not a story.
Right. Okay. What was the first bulldog that got you started? Like one of the first dogs that made you a household name in your part of the region.
Well, we had a son of Spike, and which was very, very, very heavy alligator Eli bully, and we had, I would say, this local competitions over here. Back then, the world for us was still larger than it is today.
Right.
And you had certain groups. You had Rotterdam, you had Amsterdam, you had city of Utrecht, and far up north, you had Friesland, where dogmen started with these dogs, like the country boys from the province of Groningen. They started out with wise dogs, and later they changed to dogs from Kimsey Wood. And that's where the competition came from. And of course, in England, you had Ed Reed.
Ed Reed
was kind of, yes. Ed Reed started in England.
Didn't he breed Staffordshire Bull Terriers? Ed Reed?
No, yes, but he got into the American Pit Bull Terrier.
Okay, but he did have Staffy Bulls at one time.
Yeah, most of the dogmen here that I'm talking about all started out with the Staffordshire Bull Terriers. All of them. What would
you say made him change to the American Pit Bull Terrier?
Well, they were vastly superior.
Okay.
I mean,
common sense.
The Staffordshire Bull Terriers did not stand a chance.
Okay.
Against the American Pit Bull Terrier. And back then, the American breeders, because they found a new market, and back then they could make some serious money. And back then they sent the dogs, the blood they had, over here to compete, because if the individual breeders would win, they could sell more dogs. This all changed. Sorry?
No, go ahead. Finish. Go ahead. You finish.
Yeah, this all changed when the Germans got into the game as well, and they had way more money than the Dutch guys, and they were willing to pay a lot more, and then the Americans, they would send over the, let's say, second grade to the third grade dogs, and the Germans more or less spoiled the quality market, but over here we already had first-hand, high-end quality dogs.
Right. Because y'all started way first, like before the Germans got there.
Yes. The English and the Dutch started at the same time, but the English had a disadvantage at first because they had quarantine, which means every dog, every puppy that they imported had to go into quarantine for 6 months, and this was a very costly operation. So for us, it was much more easy to get the good dogs in, and that's why the Netherlands, more or less, from 1978 till the 90s of the former century, definitely had probably the hardest competition in the world, even harder than in the USA, because we had probably about 45 kennels in a country that only took about 4 hours to drive through, and dogs that would never met in the USA were packed and stacked in this small country.
Right.
You know, and back then all those American breeders were sending their utmost best to compete. In fact, some American dogmen later who came over to watch some serious shows, they said they never had seen dogs like that before. And the difference is that in the USA, and I believe we already had a little talk about it.
Yeah.
The dogmen were professional and they had to make money. Over here, it was a sport. So money was not of any interest. We wanted to be the best. So it only costed money. And because the kennels were much smaller, we had to be much harder on the selective part of the dogs.
So when these dogmen came to view your dogs, like around what year was this around? When they came out and when they said, remember you said they said something about they never seen dogs of this quality?
Yeah. Some of those guys, I believe Bo Daly and some other guys, they came over to watch some shows over here and they took pups with them.
Right.
But after they saw these matches, they gave the pups away for free because they could not sell them. That's how impressed they were. And one of the dogs that was bred over here out of our family, his name was Smokey. And when Spike won 3 over here, he was the first European champion. And then all the other kennels said, well, that dog ain't that good. He's only going to be a good one if you go to America to prove his worth. So Limey Kennels and Frits Jensen, Mr. Bulldog, went to the USA to Jack Kelly. And they took Spike and his inbred son with him called Smokey. And Jack Kelly and Les White.
That was the black dog Jensen's champion Spike?
Yes, exactly. Spike.
Yeah.
Yes,
I think he was on the cover of one of Jack Kelly magazines too, on the Sporting Dogs.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. And anyway, Limey Kennels and Mr. Bulldog, Frits Jansen, they went to Jack Kelly for, I believe, 6 or 7 weeks. And both dogs were conditioned by Les White and by Jack Kelly. And Spike was supposed to be going into a dog called Holcomb's Mac from Jerry Holcomb. But they came with a substitute.
That's Irish Jerry, right? Jerry Holcomb?
Yes, Irish Jerry.
Right.
And they went into a substitute dog, and I need to think, which was the brother of, let me think, very well-known dog. Was it Grand Champion Black Jack? I don't know. I forgot. But anyway,
was it Grand Champion Weehut?
No. I don't know. No, I forgot about it, but it probably comes back to me. But anyway,
what year was this around?
I think he beat the brother of Mountain Men's champion Homer. I'm not sure, but it probably comes back to me because it's a long time ago. But Spike's inbred son Smokey was matched into Grand Champion Sinbad in New York, and he was what they told the last great Colby dog. He was a 7-time winner within 2 years. And Smokey beat him in 1 hour 6, and he got the nickname the Dentist because he took everything out. So that was more or less to prove the wrong sayers that they were wrong, that these dogs were amongst the best in the world. In fact, Jack Kelly wrote a special in his book, 50 Years with the American Pit Bull Terrier. There's a big part written about Spike, and I believe he said that besides Irish Tim's champion Lochem, Spike was the best dog he'd seen. So
50 Years of American Pit Bull Terrier by Jack Kelly. We were all set. King Limey, French Jensen, Terry Truman showed up, and we were off to South Carolina. Roy Holcomb was handling a litter-made brother to Mountain Man's champion Homer, a white dog with brindle spot called Monroe. Spike was an older dog and had lost his upper right side hanger. This didn't really bother me. Hangers were just that, hangers. The damage was done with the molars. However, at the 23-minute mark, as the dogs were wrestling around, a tooth flew out of the wrestling dog. I thought to myself, if that's Spike's other hanger, then I'm in trouble. We got a handle soon after, and sure enough, Spike didn't have any hangers left on top. To my surprise, Spike was biting harder without his hangers, and Monroe stopped about 55 minutes. On the way over to South Carolina, Fritz wanted to stop at a liquor store to pick up something to celebrate Spike's impending victory. He purchased 6 bottles of Tattinger's champagne at $50 a bottle. When we arrived at the site of the contest, our host had a refrigerator in the corner of the building, and Fritz put the champagne in the fridge to cool. After the match, we left, and about a mile or two from the site of the contest, Fritz remembered we left the champagne in the refrigerator. We turned around and returned to the scene. There we found a group of recent opponents sitting around the pit drinking $50 bottles of champagne right out of the bottle. This is pretty good stuff, they all agreed. We had to celebrate with Bud Light. 2 weeks later, we loaded up and we were off to New York. As soon as we walked through the door, our British allies announced they would soon cover any bet up to $5,000. That sort of put a damper on any further betting, especially when we weighed the dogs and Smokey was 2 pounds heavier. Mouth to mouth, nose to nose for an hour and 10 minutes. The spectators took to calling Smokey the Dentist. Smokey the Dentist won.